The chairman of a billion-dollar company stood in the lobby, holding a mop, and nobody recognized him. Not even the man who was about to destroy his own career. But what happened 3 weeks later would make the entire company freeze in silence, because the old janitor they laughed at owned everything. At 6:02 a.m. security footage captured something strange. An old man in worn-out clothes entered the building. Through the employee entrance, grey hair, cheap shoes, a cleaning cart that squeaked every few seconds. He looked invisible, forgettable, the kind of man people stopped noticing years ago. But hidden inside his jacket was a black card worth more than most people's salaries, and a secret nobody in the building knew. His name tag said Henry Bainton Nancy, but that wasn't who he really was. Not even close. Before anyone could learn the truth, someone made a mistake. A very expensive mistake. Hey, you. Henry stopped walking. A sharply dressed executive pointed at coffee spilled near the lobby desk. You just gonna stand there? The man snapped. Clean it. No, please. No respect. The employees nearby laughed. Henry quietly nodded. Of course. The executive smirked at him. The old man was nobody. What he didn't know. Henry had personally approved his promotion 6 months earlier, and by the end of the month, he would regret everything. But Henry didn't react. He never reacted, because this wasn't an accident. He was there for a reason. 3 months earlier, Henry Cole, founder, chairman, and owner of one of Chicago's biggest logistics companies, made a decision nobody understood after his wife died. He stopped trusting people, especially the executives running the company. Profits were up, but complaints were rising. Employees were quitting. Something felt wrong. So instead of reading reports, he decided to do something insane. He disappeared. No meetings. No interviews. No luxury office. No private jet. Only one lawyer knew the truth. For 6 months, Henry would secretly work inside his own company, disguised as a janitor. And what he discovered in week 1 already made him sick. Executives insulting, receptionists, managers humiliating, staff, people terrified to speak up. But one name kept appearing again and again. Ryan Carter, Vice President. Young, charismatic, loved by investors, feared by employees, and according to anonymous complaints, possibly the reason the company was rotting from inside. But Henry needed proof, real proof. That's when something unexpected happened. At 8:17 a.m. the elevator doors opened. Ryan stepped inside. Expensive suit, luxury watch, coffee in hand. He glanced at Henry and laughed. Oh great, Ryan said loudly. The building lets janitors ride executive elevators now. People chuckled. One woman covered her mouth to hide a smile. Ryan looked Henry up and down. You know what? He said. People like you should stay out of sight. Nobody wants to see this first thing in the morning. Silence. Nobody defended him. Nobody said a word, except one voice. That's messed up. Everyone turned. A young intern, nervous, holding folders against her chest. Emily Parker, 22, new to the company and completely unaware. She had just changed her future forever. Ryan scoffed. You're defending the janitor? Emily looked embarrassed, but nodded anyway. He's still a person. For the first time all morning, Henry looked directly at someone and smiled, a small smile, almost invisible. But what nobody noticed was what Henry quietly wrote down after leaving the elevator. Ryan Carter, Emily Parker. One name for punishment, one name for reward. And before this day ended, Henry would discover something even worse. Something hidden inside Ryan's office. Something that could destroy the company. That same afternoon, the chairman almost called the police. Not because of what he saw, but because of what he heard. And when Henry realized who was involved, He stopped sleeping that night because the disrespect. That was only the beginning. Something much darker was happening inside his company. At 6:43 p.m. Most employees had already gone home. The office was quiet, dark, almost empty. Henry slowly pushed his cleaning cart toward the executive floor. Normally, janitors weren't allowed there after hours, but nobody noticed him anymore. That was the strange thing about being invisible. People stopped paying attention, and invisible people saw everything. As Henry cleaned outside Ryan Carter's office, he heard voices, low, tense. The door wasn't fully closed. You said nobody would find out, a man whispered. Ryan sounded irritated. Relax, Ryan snapped. By next quarter, none of this will matter. Henry froze. Then he heard something that made his stomach drop. What about the layoffs? The other man asked nervously. Ryan laughed. Easy, Ryan said. We blame budget cuts. But profits are at a record high. Ryan interrupted him. Exactly. Investors love efficiency. The room went quiet. Then Ryan said something worse. Something Henry would replay in his head all night. People are disposable. Henry's grip tightened around the mop handle. Disposable? After 35 years building a company meant to protect families, that word felt like betrayal. But then Ryan lowered his voice. There's another problem. A pause. That intern. Henry frowned. Intern? You mean Emily? The man asked. Ryan scoffed. She embarrassed me in the elevator. A cold silence filled the room. Then Ryan smirked. I want HR to fire her before Friday. Henry stopped breathing. Fire her? For defending someone. But the next sentence shocked him even more. And make sure it looks legal. Henry's eyes narrowed. This wasn't arrogance anymore. This was abuse of power. But before he could think, a loud noise echoed behind him. His bucket tipped over. Water spilled across the hallway. Silence. Inside the office, the voices stopped. Then the door handle moved. Henry quickly lowered his head and pretended to clean. The office door opened. Ryan stepped out for a second. His eyes locked onto Henry. You again? Henry said nothing. Ryan looked annoyed. How much did you hear? The hallway suddenly felt colder. Henry shrugged softly. Just cleaning. Sir, Ryan stepped closer. Too close. Something about the old man unsettled him. He couldn't explain why. You know, Ryan said quietly. Old people should learn when to mind their business. Henry slowly nodded. Sometimes, Henry replied calmly. Business becomes everyone's problem. Ryan frowned. For some reason, that sentence bothered him. But before he could say anything, his phone buzzed. He looked down, then suddenly changed expression. What? Ryan turned pale. He walked away quickly. Fast. Panicked, Henry noticed something strange. Ryan forgot to close his office door, and sitting on the desk was a file, a red file, labeled Confidential Executive Payment. Chamber stepped inside. Slowly, quietly, he opened it, and what he saw made his blood run cold. Hidden payments, fake consulting companies, missing millions, signatures, transfers, and at the bottom of the page one name, a board member Henry trusted for 20 years. Henry sat down slowly. No, this wasn't just Ryan. Someone bigger was involved. Someone powerful. Someone close. But before Henry could turn the next page, a voice behind him said, "You're not supposed to be in here." Henry turned around and froze because standing in the doorway was Emily, holding her phone, looking terrified, and she had just seen everything. Emily was shaking. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling as she held the phone. She had just seen everything. The documents, the money transfers, and Henry, standing in Ryan's office like he owned the place. But what terrified her most wasn't the secret dot. It was what Henry said next. Close the door. Henry said calmly. Emily froze. What? Henry didn't raise his voice. He just looked at her and repeated, "Close the door. If you want to understand what's happening here." Something in his tone made her obey. Click. The office door shut. Silence filled the room, only the faint hum of the city outside. Emily looked at the desk. The red folder was still open. Confidential executive payments. "Did you steal this?" she whispered. Henry shook his head. "No." A pause. "I was given access to it." Emily frowned. "By who?" Henry didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned a page, and what Emily saw made her stomach drop. Fake companies, hidden accounts, millions disappearing in small transactions, all leading back to one system, a system inside the company itself. "This isn't just corruption," Henry said quietly. "This is control." Emily stepped back. "Control of what?" Henry finally looked at her. "Of the entire company." Before she could respond, footsteps echoed outside the office. Slow, heavy, getting closer. Emily panicked. "Someone's coming." Henry didn't move. He just closed the folder. Calm, too calm. The handle turned. Emily backed away. The door opened and Ryan Carter walked in. His eyes immediately locked onto Henry, then the folder, then Emily. "What the hell is going on here?" Silence. Ryan's expression slowly changed from confusion to realization. "You," he pointed at Henry, "you're not supposed to be here." Henry stood up for the first time. He didn't look like a janitor. He looked like something else, something heavier, something dangerous. "I think," Henry said quietly, "I already told you. I belong anywhere in this building." Ryan laughed nervously. "You're insane." He stepped forward, reached for the folder, but Henry closed it. First, hard thud. The sound cut through the room. Ryan stopped. Henry looked at him and said one sentence that changed everything. "You've been stealing from your own company." For a very long time, Ryan's face froze. For the first time, he didn't speak. Emily looked between them, confused, terrified. Then Henry added, "And I have everything." Ryan swallowed hard. "You don't have proof." Henry slowly reached into his pocket, pulled out a small recording device, and pressed play. Ryan's voice filled the room. "People are disposable." Silence. Then another recording, then another. Ryan's breathing got heavier. Emily's eyes widened because now she understood. This wasn't just a janitor. This was a trap, and Ryan had already fallen into it. Nobody in that boardroom expected the old janitor to walk in, especially Ryan, because just 24 hours earlier, he was sure the old man had been fired, humiliated, gone forever. Instead, the man he mocked was about to destroy everything he had built on lies, and Ryan had no idea. His life was already over. The emergency board meeting began at 9 o'clock a.m. Sharp. Executives filled the room. Lawyers sat quietly, bored. Members whispered nervously. Something felt wrong. Nobody knew why the chairman had suddenly called a private meeting after disappearing for months, especially after yesterday's scandal, because rumors were spreading fast. A whistleblower complaint, financial fraud, missing money, and somehow Ryan Carter's name kept appearing. Still, Ryan looked confident, relaxed, smug. He adjusted his tie and smiled. "This is probably nothing," he whispered to another executive. "Somebody's panicking over paperwork." He had no idea. Someone had already handed over the evidence, and the person who exposed him was the one he called maintenance grandpa. Then the doors opened. Everyone turned. The company lawyer entered first, followed by security, and behind them, a familiar old man in faded clothes slowly walked into the room, holding the same one cleaning gloves, the same tired expression, the same janitor everyone ignored. Silence, confusion. spread across the room. Ryan laughed. "Seriously?" he said. "Why is he in here?" Nobody answered. Ryan rolled his eyes. "Wrong room, old man." A few nervous chuckles echoed. Then the lawyer spoke, his voice cold. "Actually, he's exactly where he belongs." The room went silent. The lawyer pulled out a folder, then said words nobody expected. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome back the founder and chairman of this company, Mr. Henry Cole." Silence, pure silence. It felt like the air disappeared. Someone dropped a pen. A board member stood up too fast. Ryan blinked. Once, twice, then laughed nervously. No way." Henry slowly removed his old maintenance badge, placed it on the table, and finally spoke. "For 6 months, I worked in this company as a janitor," his voice calm, controlled. "But what I found disappointed me." Ryan's face turned pale. Henry looked directly at him. "You mocked employees. You abused your power. You tried to fire an intern for defending someone." Ryan swallowed hard. Then Henry said something worse. "And you stole from this company." The room exploded. "What? That's impossible." Ryan immediately stood up. "This is insane. You have no proof." Henry looked toward the screen behind him. The lights dimmed. A video started playing. Security footage, phone recordings, financial transfers, secret meetings. Everything, even Ryan saying, "People are disposable." The room went dead silent. Ryan looked terrified. "No, this is out of context." But Henry wasn't finished. "Would you like to explain the fake consulting companies?" Ryan froze. Then came the final blow. Henry opened one last file and maybe explained why you transferred company money to your private account. Ryan's hands started shaking. No, somebody set me up." But then another voice interrupted. "I think we're done lying." Everyone turned. A board member stood up slowly, the same board member Henry trusted for 20 years. The room froze because he looked terrified. Then he quietly said, "He's telling the truth." Gasps filled the room. Ryan turned. "What are you doing?" The board member looked down. "We both did it." Silence. Then chaos. Lawyers whispering. Phones ringing. Security stepping forward. Ryan panicked. "You can't do this to me." Henry stood, looked him directly in the eyes, and said the sentence Ryan would never forget. "You humiliated people because you thought power made you untouchable." He paused. "But character matters most when nobody thinks you matter." Then Henry turned toward security. "Escort them out." Ryan shouted, begged, tried explaining. Nobody listened, because for the first time, he was invisible, just like the janitor he once mocked. But the biggest surprise came 3 days later. Henry called another company meeting. Everyone expected a new vice president announcement. Instead, Henry invited someone onto the stage, a nervous young woman holding a notebook, still shocked to be there. Emily Parker, the intern, the only person who showed kindness. Henry smiled when everyone stayed silent. She spoke up when people looked away. She showed character. Then he announced something nobody expected. Emily would receive a full scholarship, a permanent executive track position, and direct mentorship from the chairman himself. The room applauded. Some people even cried, because they finally understood the lesson Henry wanted everyone to learn. You never know who someone really is, and the way you treat people can change your future forever.